be so glad you pressed on this video because I'm going to show you what I wish I knew sooner to get jacked, to build the muscle and the physique I have now, the physique that every young man wants. Shredded to the bone, 10% body fat, looking like a Greek god. I'm gonna show you what I wish I knew because you're probably here right now. I've got a little whiteboard right now, so just to demonstrate, this is you right now, and this is your goal physique, that 10% body fat, right? Muscle, and not to mention the function that you want, the energy that you want, all of it. I always like to say health is the foundation to success, okay? So this is you right now. Obviously, you want to get to this goal. Now, this is what I struggled with, and I'm sure you can relate. So just like I started my fitness journey, you see some random workout on Instagram and you're like, all right, I'm going to try this. You calculate your calories, calculate your macros, whatever. And because you want to cut calories, because you want to cut fat, then you start cutting your calories and you're underfueling yourself. You're training to exhaustion 6, even sometimes 7 times a week. And this, honestly, it led me to a downward spiral. I thought I was getting closer to my physique, but my body was screaming. I was getting injured, I was underfueling, and I wasn't training correctly. So as a result, I would gym for weeks and I would go nowhere. I'd go in circles. And this is actually a downward spiral. I'd lose motivation, I'd stop being consistent, I'd start getting complacent, and I'd end up basically in the same spot, if not worse, mindset-wise. But this is the one thing that took me from where I was to the physique I wanted in just 6 months. And it comes down to 3 principles that I preach. The first, training is signal, not noise. You're probably wondering, Jad, what do you mean by training is signal? A lot of people get training wrong. They overtrain. They do a bunch of pump. They think chasing the pump is actually going to lead to muscle growth, and they don't progressively overload properly. This is the number one mistake that people make when they're in the gym for the first time. I used to be that guy. I used to do 8 to 12 reps. I used to go maybe complete my reps to discomfort and then just do a bunch of volume. The same volume that the enhanced lifters on social media told me to do. But little did I know, being a natural is a lot of a different game than being enhanced. And I'll tell you right now, if you are following the same programs that enhanced lifters online are telling you to do, you are set up to fail. The reason why higher volume doesn't work for naturals, you actually need to go lower volume. And the reason that's the case is because enhanced lifters are in an anabolic environment 24/7. They've got 1,000 milligrams of tests running through their delt. They can do anything and they're gonna grow. The thing that us naturals need to consider is recovery, all right? We can't recover the same way that enhanced lifters can. So we need to take training with a no BS approach and do only the things that will stimulate muscle growth to the max. And this is why I say the training is your signal, not noise. And a lot of what I used to do and a lot of what I see so much people do nowadays is all noise. They do high reps, they inflame their system, cortisol spikes, they tank their T levels, and they overtrain to injury. This is what I used to do. Okay, there is a better way around it. The second principle is food is fuel. All right. Now, I used to think it was just a calorie game. Calories in, calories out. If I wanted to shred fat, I needed to be in a calorie deficit. This is true. I'm not discrediting the law of thermodynamics. 100% correct. However, when you only focus on calories without focusing on the macros and the quality of the foods you're eating and only treat it as a calorie game, you're gonna burn out. Right? You're gonna be underfueled and you're not gonna actually give your body the resources it needs to build the Greek god physique that you want. You're just not, right? You're gonna be only a smaller version of the person you are now if you purely just cut calories. You need to make sure that the food you're getting is going to be fuel for your muscle, for your systems, for your hormones. And there's 3 main principles under this. The first is Whole foods. Whole foods is going to give you the micronutrients that you need to perform and to synthesize the necessary hormones like testosterone. Okay? Whole foods is going to come with those natural minerals and electrolytes and vitamins. Okay? On the other hand, if you try to do a calorie deficit of processed foods, yes, you might lose weight, but you're not going to feel great and you're not going to perform well. This is the key that I was missing. Binging, doing little daily Macca's runs, it wasn't working. And this is clearly why. You need whole foods to thrive, the foods that God gave us. Right? The second principle is protein. Protein always comes first when it comes to nutrition. You must be getting at least 2 to 2.2 times your body weight in grams of protein. So if you weigh 80 kg, you should be getting at least between 160 to 180 grams of protein, sometimes even 200 grams of protein. All right, protein comes first. You need to prioritize protein. Okay, and the last principle is timing. When you eat what? This is very underrated. The meal that you're going to eat before your workout is going to look a lot differently to the meal you eat in the morning or even before bed. Okay, so timing, nutrient timing is important. Your body is going to have a different response to the same meal at different times throughout the day. So for example, before my workout, you want to load carbs. Same after your workout. But in the morning, you want to maybe not have as much carbs. So nutrient timing is actually quite an important aspect too. Okay, but these are the main 3 principles when it comes to your nutrition. All right. Number 3, last but not least, is recovery. Okay, recovery is growth. A lot of people think that the gym is growth, but it's the time away from the gym that's actually going to build the muscle that you broke down in the gym. Okay, and a lot of people, especially naturals, who need to prioritize this a lot more than what enhanced lifters do, they neglect it. They neglect recovery. And the big pillar of recovery, guys, is sleep. You must optimize your sleep. You must be setting yourself up to get good quality sleep, because that is where fat is lost and muscle is built. Okay, it is simple as that. You can be doing all the right things in the gym, but if recovery is not on point, you're not gonna grow. It's simple as that. So recovery is everything. All right, it's more than just sleep. It's obviously ties into nutrition, ties into eating, and this is the one thing that I want to emphasize: the chain of events that happen in order to get your physique. And it ties all these 3 principles together as well. Okay, here's the chain of events. Train hard. Nourish. Rest. And repeat. This is the chain of events that must occur for you to build the Greek god physique that you want. Okay? And if there's one part of this link that's off, you're going to break the cycle. So let's say you're training hard, but let's say you're not getting enough protein and you're not nourishing with the right foods. Then that's it. You're going to create the damage, but there's nothing there to actually build it. Vice versa. If you're training hard and you're nourishing right, but your sleep's off and you're overtraining, this is not going to work. You're going to break that cycle of the chain and you aren't going to build the muscle that you want. All right. Same thing with training. If you're nourishing perfectly, you get the point. If you're nourishing perfectly, you're resting, but your training is dog shit, you're just pumping the muscle, getting a pump, spending every 2 hours in the gym doing a bunch of nonsense, not training effectively, not increasing your strength. Those key principles of training, if you aren't implementing them, then that's it. It doesn't matter if you're eating right. It doesn't matter if you're sleeping well. It's not going to work. And that's the thing I want to mention. Guys, it's all a link. It's all linked together. All the different elements go together. They aren't separate. Okay? So if you screw up any one of these steps, you're toast. It's as simple as that. All right? So this is the problem that people face. They might be training consistently, but they're neglecting their nutrition, or they're neglecting their rest. And they're like, oh, why am I not getting results? It's because you haven't mastered all three elements. And this is the problem. The problem is people don't do all three consistently enough. They might train all they want, but they're not eating consistently. Okay, so that's the reason why you don't have your physique. And it's what I wish I knew when I first started. All right, it's literally what I wish I knew. I was training like an animal. I was doing 6 to 7 times a week, no rest days. But I was inflamed, I was overtraining, and I was eating macas. Okay, I wasn't building my physique. Okay, it was only when I mastered all three, and I was only actually training 4 times a week. I reduced the amount of times I trained, I optimized recovery, and I started eating whole, real foods to fuel myself. The moment I started doing all three and stuck with it, built a sustainable system around my life to be able to do all three on a consistent basis, that's when I blew up. Again, you can see the before and the after, all right? That's it from me. That's Jad the Chad. Hope you enjoyed this video. Subscribe for more. Check out my Instagram for more videos. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Let's go!